Okay, now we are live. We're recording this. So welcome to webinar number 3, and this will cover music competitions and the process of preparing for one and all of that cool stuff. We have really seasoned competitors here talking to us today about their experiences, and we're really grateful to have them. So first, we're going to start off by introducing our panelists. First, we have Charlotte.
Hi everyone, I'm Charlotte. I'm from San Mateo, California. I'm 17 years old and I've been playing piano for around 12 years now. I'm a rising college freshman and I'm going to be majoring in microbial biology and bioengineering. I recently graduated from the pre-college program at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, studying with Corey McVicker. Some things I really like to do are traveling and getting boba with friends. And I really look forward to discussing how to prepare for competitions and the process of selecting competitions.
Awesome. Now we're gonna introduce Justin. Go ahead.
Right. Hi, everyone. I'm Justin, and I'm a rising high school sophomore at Valley Christian High School in California's Bay Area. I've been playing the piano for 10 years, and some of my hobbies include composing cinematic music and hiking. I've gone through many piano competitions, so I have a fair share of my take and my experience on music performances, as well as tricks and techniques to help you get to the next level of your piano playing. Thank you.
Right, and now we have Kevin.
Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Cho from Santa Clarita Valley, California. I'm currently 17 years old as a rising senior at West Ranch High School, making this my 13th year, having been with the piano. My hobby, I guess, would be playing and listening to pieces that I really shouldn't be practicing, which is probably why I'm so slow with learning new competition repertoire. But anyways, I'm super excited today to talk to you guys about my experiences from various competitions, whether they be local or international.
All right, and now Nathaniel.
I'm Nathaniel, and I'm from Folsom, California. I'm a rising 8th grader at Folsom Middle School, and I'm 13. And I study piano with Sasha Starcevich, and my hobbies are math and watching sports. And I look forward to talking about my views on competitions and how I approach them.
And finally, we have Tyler.
All right, hey everyone, my name is Tyler Kim. I live in Temecula, and I doubt any of you know where that is, but it's between San Diego and LA in Southern California. I'm a rising senior, and I've been playing piano for 11 years, 12 years now. I attended the Colburn Music Academy, which is their pre-college program, for 3 years. And some of my hobbies are Taekwondo. I'm a second-degree black belt. I really enjoy snowboarding, and since COVID-19, building computers and gaming a little bit. I'm excited to just talk about my experience. I've competed in probably over 50 competitions now, and yeah, just excited to talk to you all.
All right, so those are all of our wonderful panelists. So now we're going to move on to topic number 1, which is before you sign up for a competition. And our first question is, how do I choose a competition that's right for me? And we'll be hearing from Charlotte and then Tyler.
So during the process of selecting which competitions to compete in, what my teacher has recommended me to do is to cater competitions to the repertoire that I already have, not the other way around. So for example, I wouldn't sign up for like a full concerto competition if I only have one movement of concerto learned. So this way you aren't scrambling to learn new pieces, but simply polishing the pieces that you're already working on. Obviously there are some exceptions, such as like during bigger competitions when you already have the majority of the pieces needed, and you might only need like 1 or 2 new pieces to fulfill the requirements.
Okay, yeah, do I go now? Okay, so I thought that's actually an interesting take on it, because that's kind of the opposite of what I usually do. So like most of the time I would look at the required rep and then decide to do the competition and think about like what my repertoire would be. But I definitely see how Charlotte's way would be better in a lot of competitions. But I think like most importantly, before applying to the competition, you should think about why you're applying. So like, first of all, like, do you think that you can win? Do you think like, is there a specific prize that the competition offers that you want to go for? Or maybe you're just competing for experience and it's like practice performing new pieces.
Yeah, those are both really good ideas, and both ways are really valid. And now we have, how do I choose my repertoire for a competition? So we'll be hearing from Kevin and then Tyler.
So I think the main point in choosing repertoire for competition is being able to show contrast, because that really goes to show your versatility and flexibility as a musician. So for example, if a competition was asking maybe 30 minutes of repertoire, try to get in pieces from every period, although they probably already asked for that. And even within that, try to choose pieces that are really different in style. Like let's say you have a late Beethoven sonata, then you might want to go for maybe a flashy piece after it or something, just to be able to show all of your sides as a musician.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And it's kind of contrasting to that, but I'd say also stick to your strengths, like know what you're good at. But at the same time, you definitely need to have variety in your repertoire. Because like it's funny that he mentioned like for example playing a late Beethoven sonata, because at my last competition I played Opus 109 for my classical sonata, and all my pieces were kind of deep, kind of methodical, I guess. And like while the competition went well, some of the judges did come up to me after and say like, I wish you played something a little bit more exciting or a little bit more flashy.
That's very interesting. So now we have our next question, which is, what's more important, learning more repertoire or practicing old pieces again and again for competitions? And answering the question will be Charlotte, and then Kevin, and then Nathaniel.
So I think there should be like a balance between learning new pieces and practicing old repertoire for competitions. Maybe like if the competition is closer, maybe you want to focus more, try to sign up with more old repertoire. And then if it's in the future, maybe a couple months ahead at least, then maybe learning new pieces. Usually your teacher will be the one in charge of giving you new repertoire to learn. And also for competitions, I think that discussing different combinations of repertoire with your teacher is always a good idea, since they can provide insight as onto which pieces are your more stronger pieces or weaker pieces.
Yeah, everything she said makes sense. I think that that's probably the ideal way of going about it. But I was gonna say that I think it also depends on what your goals are. If you're thinking more short term, like maybe you're just planning to do competitions in high school, I would just focus on practicing old pieces just to make sure that you're winning those competitions that you're entering. But if you're thinking more long term, like competitions in college and maybe even music as a career, I would definitely focus more on learning more repertoire, because as you go up higher in levels, the amount of repertoire that they ask is a lot. So it's always good to get started early.
Okay. So I didn't want to say both because, of course, both are good and have good things about them. But I think as a young pianist and for young pianists, I think it is more important to learn new repertoire all the time, because if you're planning into the future, like for a really big competition, I think it's important that you learn those big pieces that are going to take a long time to digest earlier. And so it's important, I think, to learn new pieces all the time. And once you've learned all those new pieces, then like a short while before the competition, you already have learned those pieces and you can just polish them. So, and also when you're younger, you have more time on your hands, so you can just learn more pieces. Yeah.
Okay, so those are really good answers again. Our next question is, what should be a goal of a competition? Isn't it to win or place? So Charlotte, Kevin, and Nathaniel will be answering again.
So I view competitions usually as a personal challenge for myself, and also it's a great opportunity to improve myself on piano and also meet new friends. While competitions do play a role in motivating me to practice, they are also a way to gain insight onto how I approach performances in general and unfamiliar situations.
Well, all of that applies as well. I think it also depends a lot on the context. I think that if you're entering a competition with new repertoire, you're probably just going there to try out pieces just to get that first time out of the way. But if you're going there with older repertoire that you're more comfortable with, then I think the primary goal should be to win, because competitions is a place where people compete. But also, like she said, just getting to see what's out there, all the other musicians, and just being able to make friends is also a really great aspect of it as well.
I think I agree with Kevin. Like, I think everyone who goes to a competition wants to win, but I don't think that the ultimate goal of like a competition is to win or place higher than someone else. And I think that mindset of like placing higher than someone else or winning is what causes people to, you know, hate other people when they do better than them. But I think the ultimate goal for me, at least, is the performance opportunity and the connections that you can get from bigger competitions with like the jury and with other people, and those are much more valuable than just winning.
Yeah, definitely. And now this kind of led up to this question. Our final question before you sign up for a competition is, what are competitions good for and what's the benefit of it? Isn't it stressful and cutthroat? And answering will be Charlotte, Justin, Kevin, and then Nathaniel.
So I think that competitions are usually a great challenge to pursue. And also another thing that competitions are really good for is listening to others after you play at the competition. I usually don't like to listen to people before I play because I get really nervous because everyone's so good. But I definitely enjoy listening to people after I play. It's always really inspiring. And also I always learn a lot. And also I think that the judges' comments sheets that you receive are also super, super helpful. I enjoy looking through them to see what I need to work on. And sometimes the advice that they give you doesn't apply to just one piece, but also to your playing in general. Yeah, and it's also a great way to meet new friends. Mm-hmm.
Right, totally agree with that. I also think that, well, to be honest, competitions can be stressful and overwhelming sometimes, but I strongly believe that competitions can help a lot of people get out of their comfort zone, because getting out of your comfort zone is a proof of your progress and your growth. So if we just stay in our comfortable virtual bubble, we will never level up our next stage of our musical ability. So I believe that competitions are sort of like mini checkpoints that you have to reach in order to progress to the next stage, and it helps demonstrate your ability to get uncomfortable and persevere towards these checkpoints. So although competitions can be a bit stressful, we still need these stress factors in our lives to keep pushing us to become a better version of ourselves.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just like how both Justin and Charlotte said, competitions really serve as a good source of inspiration and even motivation. I mean, obviously there's like the cash prize and all the other prizes and whatnot, but there's also being able to see other pianists and how amazing they are. It's not only a really humbling experience, it's also, it forces you to imagine like what they went through to get to the stage that they're playing on. But at the same time, I think that competitions also are a good source of confidence. Um, if you were to actually place, or if you felt good about your performance, that means that people in the music community probably approve, and that means that people know you exist and that you're a musician within the music community.
Yeah. So I think that it is some good things about a competition is that they're a great performance opportunity. So like if you have a new piece, you can perform it and you can get experience performing that piece so that you can improve on your next performance and you can get feedback on that. And like I said before, competitions are good because you can treat this as an opportunity to make connections and to make friends. And you can meet like lots of famous jury members and you can learn about what they're looking for, what their standards are, because you'll probably meet them in other competitions.
Yeah, that's really nice advice and insight to all of that. So now we're going to move on to our second topic, which is preparation and preparing for a competition. So first, how do I plan my practice for a competition? And Charlotte and Justin will be answering this.
So planning repertoire for competitions, I usually would just run through the repertoire as I would with performances. And I try to play it through for friends and family. So it would sort of mimic the situation that I would be in a competition. And also another way I would try to do this is to practice performing it on an unfamiliar piano. So like at a friend's house, or I don't know, maybe at a hall somewhere that you haven't played before. So that'll help mimic the experience that you would have.
Right, yeah, it's sort of similar to what I'm gonna say. So instead of like letting your mind get consumed by the overwhelming thoughts and the pressure and the stress, I think it's best to like leverage your stress and your anxiety to your advantage. So what you said, use by performing using as like a mock performance. So you're sort of like tricking your brain to get into a flow stage, or sort of into the zone, and you get to experience similar levels of focus, emotions, and stress levels that you would normally experience during an actual performance. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And now we have, how do I handle the stress and anxiety preparing for a competition? And Justin will be answering, and then Tyler.
Right, so sort of like what I said before is, again, run through your pieces, and because like when you run through your pieces, you sort of have an idea what parts you need to work on. So you can work on your parts and have a less chance that you won't make the same mistakes you will in the performance. And again, perform it to your family and your friends, so you treat it like an actual performance. So.
Yeah, I feel like this question's a little bit similar to the last one, but maybe I'd say like preparing for competition is just as much a mental game as like the physical act of practicing. And I think I'm a victim of this, but a lot of times people get caught up on little details, and you practice like this one passage over and over and over, but you have to think about like the overall structure of your performance too. And especially if you're playing a competition that has multiple rounds, like you need to make sure that you balance your practice on everything, and that'll make you feel more comfortable as the rounds progress too.
Okay, and now how do I prepare for a competition, and how do I practice under pressure? It's kind of the same thing, but more so like practicing with pressure. We'll be hearing from Charlotte, Nathaniel, and Tyler.
So similar to the last question, I would prepare for it the same way I would prepare for a performance. So I would definitely record myself many, many times. When you listen to yourself again, just make sure you listen with score, because you possibly might catch things that you might have not caught before. And also make sure to dress up in the clothes that you are going to wear at the competition, because sometimes you didn't know that piece of clothing was going to be too tight or too loose. And so just make sure that everything's comfortable. And also the day before the competition, I usually like to pack everything in a bag. So like my score, water, a hand towel, or maybe hand warmers if necessary. So that way you're not like really stressed out on the day of the competition. And another thing would be that if I know the specific time I'm playing at a competition, I would play during that time. So like especially if it's not during a time which I practice, such as like early in the morning.
Yeah, I feel like my answer is gonna be kind of different. So what I would do is make sure that your emotions and your nuances are there and they're connected. And I would recommend reviewing your lesson tapes a lot and practicing it calmly and carefully, and look at the score so that you kind of plan it out in your mind about how you want to execute certain parts. And like Charlotte said, run through the piece many times and also record yourself so that you're kind of simulating a real competition environment. And overall, your practice should be calm and careful.
Yeah, I think like a considerable amount of time before the competition, like everyone says, practice slow, practice slow, practice slow. And that is a godsend. Like practice slow, it helps so much. But then I think once you're getting close to the competition, it becomes more and more important to stop doing that and actually just practice running through. Because like in reality on stage, you don't want to be thinking. Like you just want to rely on your muscle memory and like all the practice that you had so that it goes smoothly. Because if you start thinking on stage, that's when mistakes happen, or that's when something that you don't want to do comes out.
Okay. Yeah, those are all really interesting ideas. I'm certainly learning a lot from this. And then, so finally in the preparation topic, what do I do 1 week, 1 day, 1 hour, and 1 minute before I perform on stage. We'll be hearing from Justin, Kevin, and Nathaniel.
Right, so around 1 week from a competition, I think it's best to run through your pieces in the order of your competition as much as possible. So like setting up mock performances, like performing it in front of everyone, and to know what parts you need to work on. So that's pretty general. Another way is, along with running through your pieces, is to play at half tempo. So you have two things. So I think 1 day from the competition, I think it's very essential to take breaks from your practice. Like with only 1 day left, you should feel pretty confident and ready about your pieces for the competition. So by taking breaks from your practice, you're allowing your fingers to and your mind to recharge and rest. You can still practice with 1 day left, but make sure you don't over practice, or else it might lead to injuries, which is like the worst thing that can happen before a performance. So with 1 hour of a competition, I try to keep my fingers as flexible, dry, and warm as possible, because the worst thing is when your fingers are all sweaty or they're all rigid cold. So continuously moving your fingers is a good way to make sure your fingers are warmed up. I think also spend like the last 10 or 15 minutes before your performance to just take a break and recharge and prepare yourself for the performance. And then for the last minute before your competition, I usually just take deep breaths to try to prime myself before I go onto stage. I sort of remind myself that it's about sharing your music to the audience. So I try my best to not think about the other competitors, about winning, or about messing up on stage. You can also, I guess, give yourself a small pep talk to go out there, try your best, and to bring the music to life.
Yeah, a lot of the things I'm gonna say are pretty similar. Like for example, a week before the competition, try to have like at least one public performance, but not too many to the point where you're tired out by the time you're at the actual performance. And also, if you're unfamiliar with where you're going to be performing, I would look up images or maybe videos of what the hall is going to be like, just so you get a feel. The day before a competition, normally what I would do is just run through my program right after I wake up. And then for the rest of the day, just focus on polishing all my passages and all my pieces. And then finally, like maybe after dinner, just run through the program one more time. And that's basically it with piano for the day before. Hour before, if you do have the luxury of having a practice room, I would just run through a couple passages and try not to run through entire pieces, because that'll definitely mentally tire you out. And finally, a minute before, tell yourself that you've got this. You've practiced a lot for this big moment, and it's a lot like acting confident will make you feel more confident, and I know that happens to me a lot. So
Okay, so 1 week before, I would do like what I just said, like review your lesson tapes and simulate like a live performance, and so that like you can see whether or not all those emotions and nuances are connected when you're like simulating that performance. And then 1 day before, I would just say practice slowly and expressively, and like Justin said, take breaks and review the lesson tape. And I also like focus on what I eat. Like for lunch, I eat like something with a lot of carbs. So, and then for dinner, I eat something that like has lots of protein in it, like steak. And then I sleep early, like earlier than normal. And then 1 hour before the competition, I would just try to make sure that my fingers are warmed up and relaxed. And I would eat a banana, and I would kind of like go through the piece in my head, like kind of like ideally how I want it to sound like. And then 1 minute before, like when you're in the backstage, just kind of like close your eyes and then tell yourself that you got it, and then just be confident when you go onto the stage.
Yeah, and by the way, Nathaniel is an amazing pianist. So a pianist diet, I don't know, but okay. So now we have our next topic, which is performance. And this kind of goes on to like performing on stage on the day of the competition. So firstly, how do you warm up your fingers and body before a competition? We'll be hearing from Justin, Kevin, and Nathaniel.
So I think like before a performance, I think the most important thing is to prevent your hands from getting extremely hot or sweaty or extremely frozen and cold, because I think that can sort of affect your performance. So I think warming up your fingers is a crucial factor for a successful performance. So to prevent your hands from getting cold and unable to have the dexterity to play fast runs, a good way is I sometimes use is to buy hand warmers. You can sort of get those online around for a good price. You can like put in your pockets and put your hands inside them as well, which can help gradually warm up your fingers. So when you arrive at the competition event, some places may have warm-up rooms if you're lucky. So you can run through certain sections of your pieces and work on some parts. You may feel a bit less confident. However, some events only allow a small portion of the time to warm up. So for a quick and easy warm up, I suggest is to play double thirds and sixths scales for both hands. Or another way is to play a warm up or a technique exercise like Hannon's very first exercise. I guess the worst case scenario is when you don't have a piano to warm up on, but I guess you can find like a flat surface like a table or even your lap, and you can just move your fingers around like playing scales. And also, lastly, I like to enjoy like a nice nap on the way to the competition event to stay refreshed and recharged when I arrive.
Yeah, like how Justin mentioned hand warmers. I also use hand warmers. There are also like gloves and other tools, I guess, like that. But it's different for everyone. But I just prefer hand warmers because gloves tend to make my hands sweat more than actually making them warm. But and if you don't have either, you could always put your hands in between your shoulders. But also another tip: try not to wash your hands like right before getting onto stage. Even if you are using warm water, I guarantee you your hands are gonna feel colder. And yeah, every once in a while, just move your fingers just so that they're not frozen solid.
Yeah. So the way I warm up my body is like if the performance is like in the afternoon or like even in the night, I usually take a nap. And then as I'm going to like the place where the competition is, I look at the score and I calmly think about the music. And sometimes I also listen to my favorite recordings of the piece so that like maybe I know like how I want it to sound like. And the way I warm up my fingers is I play it very slowly and I exaggerate everything, like the dynamics, the rubato, the colors, and the expressive markings. And I also sometimes play a few scales, like in the keys that the piece is in, so that I can make sure that I'm listening well and that my fingers are also warmed up.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm learning so much from all these panelists. Our next question is, what do I do on stage? So this is really open-ended, but I guess it's up for interpretation. We'll hear from Kevin, Nathaniel, and Tyler.
So I think your performance begins as soon as the judges see you. So even before you get to the piano, just walking onto stage is part of your performance. And what I want to say about that is to just make sure that you're portraying the character that you want to portray. Just try to walk confidently, I guess. Just try to be as comfortable as possible. And also, I would only recommend this tip for pieces that you feel super comfortable with. When you're at the piano, I would take the liberty of doing things that you normally wouldn't do. And by that, I mean not just like playing a lot faster or like adding in whole extra ideas that you haven't done before, but like, you know, just those small phrases, just taking like that extra millisecond to make your performance a lot more special and more live. I think that's also something that makes music so beautiful because every live performance should be different. And that's not something that you always get with other arts. And finally, take your time. You were given your 30-minute slot or however long you have. Nobody can cut you off unless you went over the time limit. But just do what you need to do and don't feel intimidated by anything.
Yeah. So this is basically what my teacher always tells me before a competition, and he says, basically tell the story that you want to convey and communicate. And by that I mean, like, he always says, like, imagine that you're playing for the person in the very last row. So like project and be very expressive, and but at the same time be free and show your personality and express it, and also have magic. And also one thing I forgot to say was that, like, sometimes, like, right before I go into the backstage, I always make sure to hug my dad. Yeah, it makes you feel more comfortable.
That was very wholesome. I completely agree with Kevin when he said, like, your performance starts as soon as they see you. So the way you walk on stage definitely makes an impression. I'd say always try to smile when you bow. Like, even if you're really nervous, even if you're dreading the performance, like, it just eases the audience and especially the judges too. Adjust your bench. That's like such a basic thing that so many people just forget to do. Like, I don't know how many times I've seen people sit way too high or way too low because of the person before them. Definitely take your time between pieces, because people always, like, unless you're playing two pieces that kind of go together or have like some cool connection, between the end and the beginning. And I'd say don't try to control your nerves, because sometimes for me that makes it worse. But I'd say just try to think of it as a performance and just accept that you're just sharing your music. Like, try not to think too much about the competition or like what your teacher told you. Just be in the moment.
Really wholesome and interesting and helpful advice. Yeah. Next we have, what can I learn from a competition? And we'll hear from Jeston, Kevin, and Nathaniel.
Well, for me, I believe that competitions play a key role into my character development and my personal growth. It sort of gives me like a goal that I can focus on and can boost my motivation to have a greater desire to be better at my craft. So competitions allow us to focus on different aspects of the piece and to get a more deeper dive into music. So also competitions have valuable learning lessons to take away from, especially the comments from professional judges, and listening to the other competitors and learning from them as well.
Yeah, I also think that competitions are a great source of finding new pieces. I know that a lot of my repertoire is pieces that I found from various competitions. And then also, if it's your very first competition, you get to see who's out there, you get to see what it's like to perform on stage. Because I know for sure that what it feels like in a competition and what it feels like at a concert are two completely different things, although I try to make them feel the same. And in general, you just pick up, I guess, competition strats, I guess you could say. Like, for example, adapting to like the acoustics of the hall or your piano, knowing what a high ceiling means, knowing what a wooden or concrete building means, just being able to adjust to where you're playing. And then you'll also get to start getting a feel for what judges are looking for, typically.
Yeah, so I agree with what Kevin said, and it's also like, if you're going to a competition with like a big piece that's really new, don't expect to like do well. Just expect yourself to probably get cut off and only like play a little bit, and probably it won't go as well as you hoped it will go. But it's important because you learn what you can do better for next time, and like what parts are hard to execute in a live performance. And also the judges will give you their feedback on what they think could be better, and that will also help you like jump forward really quickly with those pieces. And you'll know whether or not you're playing that piece on the right track, or whether there's stuff that needs to be changed, and you'll know what they're looking for. So it also helps with future or other pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And I also think it's really important to always look at the judges' feedback. So our final question for this topic of performance is, what if I have a bad day on the day of a competition? And answering this will be Charlotte, Jeston, and Tyler.
So if you do end up having a bad day at the competition, is just try to take it seriously and not seriously at the same time. So what I mean is that you should try to view competitions as stepping stones for future performances or competitions. You should always learn from your mistakes and find out how you can improve next time, but also don't beat up yourself over a single competition, because remember that you were playing an unfamiliar piano in an unfamiliar location to unfamiliar people. So this is definitely not the ideal situation. So just make sure that you don't go too hard on yourself over one competition.
Right, I totally agree with that. I also think, yeah, because some people have bad days on the day of the competition, and I had many performances where I thought I could improve on, and days where I felt pretty disappointed in myself. However, I believe that the worst performances that I had were generally the days where I learned the most, actually. It was another opportunity where I could learn and improve from what I didn't like about my performance previously. So another thing is that a bad day on the day of a competition doesn't determine or define who you truly are, because people make mistakes at some point, and those who truly get to the next level of their musical ability are the ones who learn from their bad days. So learn from your playing, especially from the comments from the judges, is a great way to find and fix your mistakes that you made.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm an expert on this topic. I've messed up so many competitions, but I'd say it's important to keep pace. Make sure like even if it is affecting you, you have to try not to show, because like you don't want the jury seeing it. You don't want, like, you see the same competitors at every single competition pretty much once you get to a certain point, you know. And like Charlotte said, try not to beat yourself up too much. It in reality, it's not gonna affect your life really. Like, and also I've had a lot of bad performances where like you think you have no chance, but maybe like somehow you make it to the next round or somehow you get something. So just try to stay positive, because you really never know what's gonna happen.
Very good, interesting input from all of our speakers. And our final topic for this webinar is, well, before we move on to other questions, is what's next. So what happens after you play and you get your results and whatnot. So first question is, post-competition, I placed, now what? So as in like you won a prize or something. And we'll hear from Kevin and Tyler.
Yeah, I think the most important thing about placing at a competition and then just keeping that in mind is humility. I've fallen victim to having too much of a big head after several competitions, and that's definitely taken a toll on my practice and just keeping high standards for myself. But at the same time, I've said this before, that if you've placed, that should also make you more confident as a musician. You're now a musician who's been praised by at least one of the judges, and someone approves you're a musician. And yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The humility part is a big part of it, and also like the networking part. Like, make sure you talk to the judges, talk to like other competitors around, and if there's like some performance or something associated, like let's say you won a concerto competition, don't forget about that performance, because I've had like competitions where you have to perform that same piece a year later, and like you got to make sure, like if you're playing it with an orchestra, you gotta keep that piece up.
Yeah, so I guess it's kind of like maintaining those high standards and keep moving forward no matter what. And then our next question is the opposite, post-competition, I didn't place, now what? So we'll hear from Charlotte and Justin.
So I think that placing or not placing in a competition does not and shouldn't define you as a pianist. It simply reflects the personal tastes and just preferences of the judges at that specific competition. And so what I try to do is, rather than focus on the results, which are out of my control, I try to focus on what I can control. So basically how I would prepare for the next competition and just try to figure out what I can do better. And also, I try not to have too high of an expectation for myself. Not when I practice, but at the competition, since it's pretty much out of your control by then. And yeah, I just try not to have too high of an expectation for myself.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I think, yeah, whether you won or you didn't, I think there's also always key learning lessons you can take away to get to the next level of your piano playing. So I found a quote from Carlin R. Davis, a renowned English conductor for the London Philharmonic, I think he said that the road to success and the road to failure are almost exactly the same. So what this quote means that failures, setbacks, and challenges are fundamental and key to your progress in your piano playing and actually in all aspects of your life. So instead of thinking failure with a negative attitude towards it, think of failure as a gift and another opportunity to continue honing your skills and your craft at your piano playing.
Yeah, indeed. And I definitely think that not placing in a competition really lets you to reevaluate everything and just kind of holds you back a little bit from not becoming like too overly confident or something. And the final question for this series is, what are factors that determine the winners of a competition? And so answering this will be Kevin, Nathaniel, and Justin.
I think that's something that everyone says and knows is that as a pianist, you have to make the piano sound different. Everyone's playing on the same piano, unless you're Horowitz, who brings his own piano. But everybody's playing on the same piano, and the way you approach the piano, your sound, that's what makes you different from everyone else. But something that I think is just as important is making yourself look different as well. And I'm not talking about like the way you dress or other things like that. I'm talking about like I said before, the way you hold yourself on stage. Piano performances aren't just an auditory experience, they're also visual experiences as well. So whatever you do on stage, everybody's going to pick up on it, whether they pick up on it consciously or not.
Yeah, so I think if you're a jury, there's a lot of things. It's very complicated, and I think what juries are looking for is, in a performance aspect, I think they're looking for your personality, like something that makes you unique from other people, and also like something magical about you, like that moves them, that makes them like kind of like you. And there are also lots of different scoring systems, and they benefit some people also. Like there are like yes or no systems where like the person with the most yeses, I guess, is the winner, or if you get enough yeses, you can move on to the next round. And there's also lots of objective scoring systems with like all these different categories, and then like they score you, and then the person with the highest score is the winner.
Yeah. Also, I just want to add that I think that so far the competitions that I went to, I think the winners of the competitions are really, really and hardworking, and that the winners actually interpret the music very well, both technically and musically. And most of the winners control and showcase their pieces masterfully and professionally. So I think that the judges tend to look at two areas in your playing, which is musicality and artistry. But I think technique and getting all the notes right and memorized are important as well. But pretty much everyone that participates in these type of competitions memorize their pieces and also have amazing technique. So that's why I think musicality and artistry are like the key factors that determine the winners of the competition. So musicality is sort of based on producing a good and unique sound, sort of like what Kevin and Nathan said in your playing, from like phrasing and balancing of your piece. And I think artistry is how you are able to express your personality, your emotions, and your feelings of the piece and be able to execute and deliver that to the audience and the judges. So yeah.
All right, awesome. Now we're gonna have one extra question that is not really related to any of these previous sections. So that was, do you have any competition tips for younger and or older students? And are these tips gonna be different for depending on your age? So answering this will be Charlotte and then Tyler.
So I think for the general advice, they would pretty much be the same. But when I was younger, I used to stress less about competitions. I wasn't that worried about messing up. I didn't really have that high of an expectation of myself. I didn't put that much pressure on myself. But I find that, and for many of my friends too, we tend to put more pressure on ourselves as we get older. And so I would like to give advice to older students and pianists just to enjoy the music during your performance, and make sure to give it your all.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that point. I found that the older I got, the more stressful competitions got. And I'd say when you're younger, as much as you want to win, like focus on just the experience of competing. Like I know like Nathan, you're relatively young and you've already had quite a bit of experience, and that's great because that'll really set you up for when you're older. And I think early on competitions, like judges want more fun, like they want to see fundamentals in younger students, but as you get older they want to see like more artistry or more of your personality.
That's a very interesting take. And yeah, so now we have an open Q&A session for individual panelists. So for example, if you had a specific question you wanted to ask, say Justin, then this would be your time to ask. Yeah, so feel free to unmute yourself. Basically, whoever unmutes themselves first and asks the question gets their question answered. So, but does anyone have any questions for a specific panelist?
It's okay, we don't bite.
Going once, going twice. Okay, so if you ever end up brainstorming or thinking of any other questions, feel free to message Alex, the assistant. Next up, we're going to address the questions that were asked during the webinar. Any of our panelists, feel free to answer any of these. So the first one is, what about traveling to competitions? Is it necessary to travel to improve your competition experience or as a musician yourself? Someone want to answer this?
Yeah, I'll take it. I don't think it's it's necessary as you get to larger competitions, but to me that's like one of the most fun parts about competitions is just traveling and being able to see different cities.
Yeah, I sort of want to add to that. Like when you travel to different places, you get to sort of experience like different cultures, especially different music tastes, and you can sort of like visit like the cities where they have a lot of like different aspects or traditions of art, and you can sort of explore that.
Yeah, and the best part is sometimes they cover the cost of your traveling, so
Oh.
it does make the competition less stressful because you almost think of it as like at least like I get a vacation out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely I think that when you expand in your musical level, like these people, they have traveled like nationally, internationally to other places. So it's definitely a really good experience, and it will be like relevant. Like traveling is always a thing now. And if you need to leave, that's totally fine. We're not gonna like hold anything against you or take anything personally if you need to leave. Okay. So our second question is, if your competition is early in the morning, do you still usually get up to practice more? So like maybe if you're scheduled to play at like 8 a.m., what do you do?
I don't really like get up even earlier than I'm supposed to practice more. I just wake up early, like early enough, and then I just get dressed, and then on the way there, I do mental practice, and that's very effective. And then like if you are fortunate to have like a warm-up room, then I think normally that would be adequate enough time for you to get your fingers warmed up. So
I definitely agree with Nathaniel. I think that warming up is more important than like practicing for a full hour before a competition. And I also think that sometimes waking up early, like that diminishes your sleep time. So sometimes you'd rather get more sleep than like shove in an hour of practice right before a competition sometimes. So you have to find what's right for you.
Plus, if you get up even earlier on the way there, you probably would end up taking a nap. So then either way, you're gonna have to. Plus, if you were to wake up like later instead of earlier, you would have like more like extended. I don't know. Okay, I just feel like it would be more effective if you were to wake up later instead of earlier, because then like you're more focused, I guess.
And also I want to add that this happened to a lot to me as well. Is where I can't seem to find sleep on the night before the competition. And even if you do wake up a lot earlier than you planned, I wouldn't focus on practicing more piano because that's definitely just going to tire you out. If you have time, just try to like meditate or try to do things that'll just calm you down, rather than going ham on the piano and just expending your energy.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think,
Does someone have anything else to say?
yeah, I was just gonna say like, I sometimes also like can't sleep the night before performances, but it's also what's sometimes even more important is like having a good night's sleep the night before the night before, so like 2 days before the competition. And also like even if you are tired on the day of the competition, usually, I mean, I get pretty nervous to play, so usually the adrenaline kind of overrides that, and I don't really feel tired.
Yeah, I really agree with the night before, like, especially in school, like when we're all going to school or something, if you get less than 6 hours of sleep, like normally the tiredness doesn't kick in until like 48 hours later, but maybe that's just me, I'm not sure. So our next question is, when a piece is polished, or when is a piece polished or finished or performance ready?
So I think like if a piece is performance ready, I think it is when it's like at the extent of like all of the fundamentals are there, like the technical aspect is there, like the basic interpretation is like good, and like overall you're connected to the piece like emotionally and you understand it well enough. And I think a polished piece is like a piece, it's basically a performance ready piece that's like more detailed, I guess. And a finished piece, I guess, is one that's been like performed multiple times, probably been performed in competitions. And I don't want to say it, but like you're kind of bored of it, so then you just drop it and then learn more stuff, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, going off of that point, I think finished is a bit of a strong word. I don't think you can
Yeah.
ever really finish a piece. I mean, yeah, it can reach a point where you're starting to feel tired out of the piece, but there's always room for improvement. There's always room for maybe even a completely different interpretation that just appeals to you more. But something that that I learned from a master class is that she said that you, for a finished or for a polished piece, you should be able to just wake up at 3 in the morning and just run through it perfectly, just like right after you get out of bed. And I think that's actually pretty accurate.
Yeah. And also, I feel like, yeah, I agree that like finished is a very strong word, because like say you finished a piece and then like dropped it for a while, and then maybe a few months later or even a year later you would come back and play that piece, you could end up playing that piece with a completely different interpretation. But it doesn't mean that that piece was not good when you dropped it, or it's just that you've changed as a human being and as an artist. So
Definitely agree with that one, yeah, because like I've had pieces that I've come back and played like several times, and I've even said like I'm never gonna play this piece again. I'm so sick of it. I don't want to play it. And then you come back and play it again. It's just completely different. But I think on the polish topic, I think also sometimes it's bad to be overly polished, especially in competitions, because you lose that sense of spontaneity. And like I've had competitions where like I played a piece for like a month. I started a month before the competition. I had other pieces that I've been playing for like a year and a half, and I end up playing that new piece so much better, just because like you're so much more involved with it. Like you haven't had it as much time.
Yeah, okay. Our I wrote, I definitely agree with all the panelists, but I accidentally sent it privately to someone in the chat, but I definitely agree with all you guys. I mean, it's better than like doing it the opposite way around, like when you're just trying to privately message someone and then it accidentally goes to everyone. Anyways, so the next one is, what goes to mind when you mess up?
Well, it's sort of like a shock that I sort of messed up. But I think the most important thing once you mess up is to quickly regain and get back your concentration and focus on what's the most important aspect of your piece. Because if you let that one mess up dictate your entire performance, then it won't be as good performance if you don't like regain back that sense of focus.
yeah, I'm not very good at dealing with messing up on stage. Like after I mess up, I immediately start like having so many thoughts going through my head. I'm always like worried that I'm gonna like embarrass myself or people are gonna be laughing at me or whatever. So I'm not very good at dealing with messing up on stage. I don't know, maybe it's because I haven't messed up enough.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Nathan. Okay, we see
Weird
you.
Bubba. Nathan, trust me, like I hate to say it, but you get used to it. Like I remember when I was younger, my teacher would always get mad at me because when I messed up, my entire face would turn bright red, and like even if the audience couldn't tell, like everyone could just see my face and know that I messed up. But like you just have to keep going, and realistically, if you have practiced enough and you are prepared, it shouldn't be that hard to just move past the mistake. Because like it also depends on the piece. Because at my most recent competition, I had a memory slip in a Bach fugue, in a 5-voice Bach fugue, and I was like, yeah, that was the scariest moment I've ever had on stage. But like I just like randomly like skipped a measure and ended up continuing. So like there's definitely a luck aspect involved too.
Yeah, like I feel like
yes,
sometimes
Captain's asking, is it the B flat minor one? Yeah, I forgot like 2 measures of it, and I just skipped them and like kept playing in tempo. Like,
but I feel like sometimes you could probably be able to tell when I mess up because normally like I always play with so much like facial expressions. I think that's like unnecessary. And then like once I mess up, I have less facial expressions. And like sometimes the reason why I end up messing up is because I do have too much facial expression. Like I focus like too much on superficial stuff. And then like yeah, so
I also wanted to add that I'm kind of saying this like half as a joke, but half seriously. I like to have the mindset where like once you've messed up, you've got nothing to lose. I don't know. Like I don't know. I when I like tell that to myself, I find myself to feel less nervous actually after a mistake because it seriously like just gives me room to breathe, I think.
okay, yeah, that's funny because at that same competition where I had that memory slip in the Bach fugue, I was like, okay, this competition's over. Like I'm done. I screwed it. And then I ended up going to the second round because in that competition you play 2 rounds. Like you don't get cut after that. I would have gotten cut probably, but I went into the second round with just like an F it mentality, you know. And it ended up being like one of the best rounds I've ever played just because I thought my chance was done. So.
Oh,
Interesting.
I just want to say something real quick. I once took a master class with a pianist, and he said, once you've messed up on stage, don't even expect to get 3rd place. It actually just helps you play more free. So once you've messing up once actually like can help you relieve some pressure. So.
Yeah,
But like if you take it the wrong way, it will go downhill very fast. So
yeah, I don't know about that 3rd place thing though, because like some of the competitions I've won, I made like the most mistakes in a lot of the competitions I've won actually because you just like you tend to play more musically when you mess up more. I don't know if that's just me.
Yeah, and
But
sometimes like even if you mess up, like sometimes maybe the judges can't even tell, but you know because you know the piece so well.
God bless 21st century music.
yeah, and also I feel like no matter what, like you should always feel that there's something better that you can do in your performance, even if you didn't have like a big mess up or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah,
Memory
definitely.
Slips. Adam says memory slips during Vine Sonata. You can't even tell though. That's the thing. You really can't.
Fun fact: I was playing Vine, the second movement, and I just completely messed up the middle section, and so I just skipped ahead like half a page, and no one noticed. It was great.
Yeah, actually, at the end of the first movement, like that, you know, like the alternating thing at the end of the first movement, I played that like I don't know how I forgot it, but like I hadn't played the piece in a while, and I was playing it in public. I played it like a 5th up. And like no one cared.
Okay, so we love answering this question, but we have to move on, unfortunately. But our next question is kind of similar. It's how many times have you messed up on stage, and what's the most common reason? I'm just gonna say right out here, I've messed up every single time I went on stage. Even my best performance, I still messed up, but it was like really, really subtle. So you can always like you know, hide it, I guess, or just move on. But I'd love to hear from the other panelists.
Just like Elizabeth said, I think I've messed up at every performance that I've done, especially with this one piece. And so let's Hungarian Rhapsody number 2. There's this one passage that I can't get, but but even so, I've been able to power through competitions, and I don't think, as long as the mess up isn't too big, you'd be pretty good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I played Hungry Rhapsody number 12 for a while, and like that coda is like near impossible to play perfectly on stage. So like you said, it really doesn't matter that much. And I can only think of like maybe like 2 or 3 performances ever that I felt like I was flawless. And every other performance I've definitely messed something up.
And then I also want to add that judges know, if they really know the piece, they know it's a difficult passage. So try not to be too hard on yourself if you messed up.
True.
Yeah. I think I've messed up like 5 times in my life. I think that's too little. I don't know. But I feel like the main reason why I mess up is because I become like careless or I become careless. Like one time I messed up on my first ever orchestra performance, and like the whole thing was like really good, except I missed the last like note with the orchestra after my cadenza. So yeah, but I mean, most people thought it was good because like everything else was pretty good. So yeah, I guess so.
So maybe a pattern we're seeing here is like maintaining focus. Sorry, did someone have to, Charlotte?
Oh, I was just gonna say that like I've definitely messed up like every single performance, and sometimes what I think is that when I listen back to the recording, sometimes I think that I magnify the mistakes that I made during the performance. Like sometimes I hear back and it's like, oh, it wasn't that big, like as when I was playing. And then also yeah, just make sure that you rebound from your mistakes quickly and not to make sure to let the mistake take over your performance.
Yeah, and also
sorry.
Nathan can go.
okay, so sometimes like even after you perform, you might like I'm always really hard on myself, but then after I'm done, my teacher always thinks I play really well, so I don't know.
Yeah,
even though I think I did really
Yeah,
bad.
that goes for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mistakes definitely feel a lot worse than how they
Yeah.
sound.
True.
So,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Yeah, it's like time slows down.
Yeah, time slows down. Like, oh my.
Yeah, but when you listen back at the recording, you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
True.
so our next question is, do you have other teachers listen to your repertoire before you compete? If so, how is it helpful? Is it helpful?
Sometimes, yeah. And I think a good teacher will know not to try to change too much before competition. Like they'll never tell you to make some drastic change. So it definitely helps to have some like outside help.
Yeah, I mean, my teacher doesn't really encourage it, but I would say like asking another teacher to listen to your piece, like maybe not necessarily before competition, but like if you're getting like if you're having a hard time to take the next step, or like if you're getting bored of the piece, like if you don't know what to do with it, then if you have like another teacher listen to it and maybe share their interpretation, then it's really like refreshing and it helps you a lot.
Yeah, I definitely try to have as many master classes as I can before a competition, because it doesn't only help, or it doesn't only help with just refreshing the piece, but also it also functions as a public performance. And something that's really cool about master classes is that the master class teacher is probably seeing your performance for the first time, and because of that, they're going to be giving like a lot more big picture ideas, and that's something that you don't always get when you're working with the same teacher.
Yeah.
It's always great to have an extra set of ears. Sorry,
Yeah.
Justin, did you have something to say?
I also think that if you can't really get access to master classes, I think another good way is grab like headphones and listen to one of your favorite interpretations of your piece, and then play along with it, like shadow it, I guess. So you can sort of see how that performer goes. So you can get like a better interpretation, or like different interpretations, I guess. Yeah.
Definitely. I love listening to like those piano masters on YouTube. Like just their interpretations are so refreshing. And so our next question is, how do I write a bio with competitions? So like you're submitting your bio.
I think it depends, because sometimes the competitions, they ask for specific information. But something that I just really want to emphasize is don't forget to put your teacher's name, because I did that once and I learned my lesson.
Yeah, it's really annoying sometimes, because like competitions will ask like this one asked for 400, this one asked for 200, this one asked for 250, this one asked for 3. Like it's so annoying having to edit your bio that many times. but also you should just have like one long version and then a cut down version of it where you just maybe like cut out some of the accomplishments that you list. But yeah, it's also nice to add like hobbies and stuff if you can, if you have the room for it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
so-
agree with Tyler. Go ahead.
So basically, what I barely ever have to like completely change up my bio. So I think I've been using the same bio for like 2 years now. I just edit it a little bit. And basically, yeah, I think for a bio, you should just like have your teacher, maybe like a teacher or two that you've previously studied with, and then your accomplishments, maybe some people you've had master classes with, and your hobbies, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Nathaniel. So, and also Tyler, that you should have multiple versions of your bio so that you don't have to keep editing it. So have long, medium, maybe in a short version. And also to vary up your bio a little bit. So alternate maybe with like have a section dedicated to competitions, maybe the festivals you've attended, and then like master classes with whoever you had master classes with. And then at the end, maybe include some like fun stuff like hobbies. And also like at the beginning, maybe mention like some basic stuff about yourself, like where you're from, age, school, or grade, or whatever.
Yeah, and also don't think grammar doesn't matter because I've seen so many bad bios. And like, don't forget to update like your age and stuff like that, or if you move teachers, because I've seen that too. And that's like imagine switching teachers and you have your old teacher on your bio. That's the worst.
Yeah, I've seen some bios online that have not been like edited well, or they just like they cut half a sentence or something. So just always make sure you read through it before you submit it. And I have a long version, a short version, and yeah, I think the overall structure should be like third person usually. Like this person is whatever years old from where and studies with whatever, and list some accomplishments, and then what you do at the end, like extra hobbies. So I think that's a really good like template overall. Okay, our next question is, if you had 10 minutes to talk with a famous soloist, what would you ask them or talk to them about?
I think I would talk to Horowitz and Rubinstein. I would ask Horowitz like because in his time there weren't that many like competitions or whatever. Like I'm wondering like if he had went to like a really big competition and played the way that makes him unique, like, and maybe he didn't make it that far, I would ask him like, how would your career have turned out differently? And also I would ask Rubinstein about how he gets the ladies with Chopin.
Can we go around and say like,
do you want to learn? I'm just kidding. Okay, sorry. Oh, are we gonna go around? Is that what?
Yeah, I was just saying, like, I was just wondering what you guys would say, like, if you could be anybody, who would it be, dead or alive?
I'd say Sokolov or Argerich.
That was gonna be my answer.
Or
actually, I actually met Sokolov.
What? How?
Yeah, I went to his concert.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he practiced for 4 hours straight, all the way up until like 5 minutes before the concert, and then played a 2-hour concert. I have no idea how.
My brain would be drained from that.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah, like I heard from an interview that Lang, like for all of his concerts, he always rehearses for 2 hours straight right before his concert, and it's so crazy how they have enough stamina and energy to do that.
Does anyone else have anything to add? No? Okay. All right. So our next question that by the way, talking about famous soloists, the H.O.P.E organization is looking into getting like real professional pianists as guest speakers, because we just have such a nice, like, huge network of wonderful pianists who can reach out to connections. So stay tuned for that. There's going to be like AMAs, like Ask Me Anything. It's going to be really exciting. So the next question we just got was, do you think having a YouTube channel of yourself is meaningful? Maybe like posting your own videos and stuff.
I don't think so. Because first of all, I have a YouTube channel, but all of my videos are private or unlisted. So like I don't like really publicly like post any of them. And also I think that's a good thing, because like it kind of lowers the expectations of like people who are like, like there's some people who like, once the list of competitors come out, they search up every single competitor and like see how they play.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's I don't want that to happen to me, and I don't like it if that were to happen, because I don't like it if people have expectations of you when you go and play. So yeah, I think having a YouTube channel of yourself, maybe it's good if you were to like want to register for some kind of like scholarship program or something like that, so they can see like your videos and stuff. But like, I don't really see any other big purpose of it.
Well, I guess there's like pros and cons, but I guess as you near towards college, I think it's sort of good to post your own piano performance playing, so that when like we submit to college applications, the college can see how good your piano is, I guess.
Yeah,
Like
I'd say
Nathaniel's a long way from there.
Yeah.
I'd say like don't worry about. I mean, unless you're trying to actually like make it on YouTube as a classical pianist, like don't worry about views or anything. I think YouTube is just more useful to have like somewhere to have a collection of your videos. Especially like I know for me, like a lot of friends and family will ask like, oh, like can I see a video or something? You send them a link, and like there's like some orchestras that'll say like oh, like we don't allow recording, but you just post it on YouTube privately, and then you can send links to like your friends and family. So also like a lot of competitions, like when you apply, you can just link a YouTube video as your application or as your application video, and that helps a lot.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Tyler that having a collection of your videos on YouTube is a great idea, especially for a college application, because you just have a consolidation of all your recordings in one place. And also sometimes competitions require your videos to be public. And also I think that YouTube is a great video platform to put your videos there and link to competitions.
Yeah, yeah, sometimes if like big competitions come out, your competitors may search after you. So that's like a downside that Nathaniel did bring up, but I don't really have any experience with that. Personally for me, I don't post anything, but I did have someone post a video of me when I was like 10, but that's basically it. But yeah, I would suggest keeping your videos unlisted for competitions. Does anyone else have anything to add? Okay, and our final question was, will there be more of these webinars in the future? Yes, there will. Usually, well, as of right now, we're gonna have webinars every 2 weeks, and you can fill out our feedback form and things we did well, what didn't go so well, and future topics you would like to suggest. And always keep an eye out for that. Follow us on our social media handles to always stay updated. And with that, does anyone have any final questions?
I actually have a question for the rest of the panelists. Are there any pianists that you guys feel are overrated?
Like overrated for the general public, or like within
Yeah, like
actual
pianists
pianists?
that most people like believe are super good or like amazing, but like you
Vijay
don't think.
win.
I don't think we. Oh, you don't like
We
Vijay
can.
Wing?
Okay, we can discuss.
I don't like
this,
Argerich.
You don't like
Okay.
Argerich?
Yeah,
I mean, they all have
like
like their
Oh,
strengths
what?
and weaknesses.
Here
So.
they go.
I think.
Okay, we can. The panelists will discuss this privately, but we've had an amazing time.
Yeah.
I've definitely learned so much from these people, and yeah. So we're gonna end the recording. Oh, wait.